Welcome to Naughty Relationship Stories, where passion, drama, secrets, and unexpected twists come alive. I've been married 7 months. That's supposed to be the honeymoon phase, right? But for me it's already complicated. My name's Kayla, I'm 27 and lately, I've been feeling like a wife in theory more than reality. My husband, James, is sweet, attentive and protective to a fault. But the passion? It's been fading fast, maybe because we argue over everything lately, especially my career. So when my company scheduled an executive retreat, a weekend getaway at a private resort upstate, he wasn't thrilled. Especially after he found out who else was going. My boss, Mr. Beckett. Tall, sharp-jawed, built, a strong, commanding presence, black, late 30s and married, though rumor has it not happily. The kind of man who fills a room with silence and tension before he ever speaks. He runs the company like a king and everyone either fears him or fantasizes about him. James, he saw it in my eyes. You're not going, he said flatly. It's not optional, I argued. And you're not my manager. He gave me a look. You don't need to be around men like that. You're married now. That word, married, suddenly felt heavy. Like a leash. I left the next day. The resort was indulgent, expensive, wrapped in woods and stone fireplaces and leather couches that practically whispered sin. It was late when we arrived and Mr. Beckett greeted me with a drink already in hand. His eyes lingered a second too long. His voice dipped just low enough to make me shift in my heels. You're glowing tonight, Kayla. That's when it started. That tone. And the part of me I hated, the part that felt seen, the part that hadn't felt wanted in months, responded instantly. The retreat was supposed to be workshops and dinners. But the tension between us? That was its own event. He touched me lightly on my back every time he passed me. His voice softened when he said my name. He made space for me beside him at dinner. No one else noticed. But I did. And the worst part? I didn't stop him. That night, when we were alone by the fireplace after drinks and half the team had gone to bed, he leaned in close, his cologne woodsy and rich. You don't belong to a man who limits you, he said. And I didn't say a word. Because in that moment, I didn't want to. I should have gone to my room. That's what a faithful wife would have done. But instead I sat there, by the fire, a glass of red wine in hand with Mr. Beckett across from me. Everyone else had turned in hours ago. The retreat lodge had gone quiet. Too quiet. Except for the soft crackle of flames and the sound of my own heartbeat. Too loud in my chest. He wasn't saying much. But his eyes. They said everything. I shifted in my seat, suddenly too aware of how bare my legs felt under the hem of my dress. How exposed I was. His gaze dipped, slowly, respectfully, but with purpose. Like he was already imagining what was beneath it. Do you trust me, Kayla? He asked suddenly, his voice low and deep like thunder tucked under velvet. I blinked. Caught off guard. I guess so. You've always been fair with me. He nodded, stood slowly, then extended a hand. Come with me. My fingers hesitated only a second before I placed them in his. His palm was warm, strong, steady, and in that single touch, I let go of every excuse I had left. We didn't speak as he led me to his suite. Just the sound of our footsteps down the quiet hallway. My heels clicked softly against the hardwood. His hand never left mine. He didn't drag. He didn't pull. He waited for me to want this as much as he clearly did. And God, I did. When we stepped into his room, he locked the door with one smooth motion. The second it clicked shut, I turned to him, but he was already there. His lips claimed mine before I could second-guess a thing. Hot. Demanding. His mouth tasted like whiskey and something sweeter I couldn't place. Maybe temptation itself. His hands found my waist, fingers digging in like he'd been waiting too long to do this. I melted into him. There was no awkward hesitation. No asking for permission. We both knew what this was. And when his hands slid down my back to the curve of my hips, I didn't stop him. I let him lift me, effortlessly. My back met the wall and I gasped, his mouth still on mine, his body pressed flush against mine. He broke the kiss just enough to whisper, "You're shaking." I know, I breathed. Scared. No, I said, heart thudding. Excited. I expected him to rush. But Mr. Beckett? He took his time. He peeled my dress down like it was sacred. Like I was sacred. And when his lips moved down to my neck, Then lower I realized he wasn't just here for pleasure. He was here to ruin me for every man after him. And maybe he already had. Because when his slacks finally dropped to the floor and I saw what he'd been hiding all night, my knees nearly buckled. I knew the rumors. I'd heard the whispers around the office. But seeing it, feeling it, my breath hitched. He smirked, low, dark, confident. You okay? Not even a little, I whispered. But don't stop. And he didn't. Not when I moaned his name against his shoulder. Not when I begged him to go slower. Not when he made me come undone in ways James never could, never even tried to. It was reckless, shameless, wrong. But in that moment, wrapped in his arms, completely wrecked in every way a woman could be, I didn't care. Because for the first time in a long time, I felt alive. The next morning at the retreat passed like a blur. Workshops, team-building games, polite small talk. I sat through all of it with legs still sore and skin still tingling from the night before. Every time Mr. Beckett entered the room I felt it, that same invisible pull. That heat in the air that no one else seemed to notice. But I did. Every second of it. By midday I slipped away early from the final group session. My head was pounding, not from a hangover but from the chaos in my mind. What I'd done. What I was still craving. I headed back to my suite planning to shower and reset, maybe lie down for a while. As I pulled off my lanyard and tossed it on the dresser my phone buzzed. James. I stared at it for a second. Then answered. Hey babe. He sounded cheerful, clueless. Hey, just checking in. You disappeared on me yesterday. You doing okay? I forced a smile even though he couldn't see it. Yeah, I'm good. It's just been busy. Non-stop, honestly. Hope you're still making time to relax, he said. Oh, I will, I replied, stepping into the bathroom. I'm actually about to take a hot shower and rest for a bit. Good, he said. You deserve it. Call me later, okay? Of course. I love you. I love you too. I hung up. The guilt settled in for a second, like a shadow, but it didn't last long. Because when I walked back out of the bathroom, towel in hand, I froze. Mr. Beckett was sitting at the edge of my bed. Relaxed. Legs spread. Elbows resting on his knees. Watching me. Waiting. My stomach flipped. How did you? I started, but he raised a brow with that same calm confidence I'd come to recognize. You left your door unlocked, he said. And you said you were taking a shower. My heart pounded. He stood slowly and walked toward me. I didn't back away. I couldn't. My body was already betraying me, aching for something I'd told myself I wouldn't repeat. But here he was. And there I was, wrapped in nothing but thin cotton and temptation. You said you needed to rest, he murmured, eyes scanning me like he already owned me. Let me help you with that. The towel dropped before I even realized I'd let it go. He didn't undress like last time. This time was faster. Rougher. Like he'd been thinking about it all day, and couldn't wait another second. He backed me up against the wall first. Then the dresser. Then finally onto the bed where I completely lost count of time. His hands were everywhere. His mouth devoured every inch of me. And when he slid inside me, slow at first then relentless, I cried out, the sound muffled only by the pillow I clutched like a lifeline, again. And again. And again. He took me until I was shaking, barely able to form words. He flipped me over, made me say his name, made me feel things I didn't even know I could feel. He didn't stop until my legs gave out beneath me. Until I couldn't think straight anymore. Until all I knew was him. We didn't talk afterward. He dressed in silence, leaving behind only the imprint of his body on the sheets, and the deeper, unshakable one inside me. When the door finally clicked shut behind him, I lay there, naked, tangled in twisted sheets, my pulse still racing. This wasn't a fling. It was becoming something else. Something I couldn't walk away from. Coming home felt strange. James picked me up from the station, all smiles, his arms open, his lips pressed to my cheek with practiced love. But I didn't feel like the same woman he kissed goodbye days earlier. Because I wasn't. I was quieter than usual on the ride home. I blamed it on being tired, and he accepted that without question, eager to get me settled in, offering to run me a bath, cook dinner. Sweet, soft, safe. And yet, when he reached for me that night in bed, his hand trailing over my hip the way he always did when he wanted to be close, I flinched. Not outwardly, but inside. Everything recoiled. Because I didn't want that touch anymore. I wanted something rougher, deeper, hotter. I wanted hands that gripped me like I was the only thing that mattered. I wanted the hunger. The dominance. I wanted Beckett. Even when James kissed me, I barely felt it. My mind was replaying every sound, every word, every look from that hotel room. The way Beckett whispered my name while buried deep inside me. The way he made me feel like I was something wild and powerful, not fragile and precious. That man broke me open. And now I couldn't stop thinking about it. About him. The next day James left early for work. I stood in the kitchen in my robe sipping coffee, staring at the same four walls that used to feel like home. Now they just felt suffocating. I glanced at my phone for the 100th time. Nothing. I shouldn't have wanted a message. I shouldn't have expected one. But still I stared at the screen like a fool, wondering if maybe it was a one-time thing for him. If I was just another story to add to his list of conquests. Then right as I turned to walk away, my screen lit up. A known number. You home safe, Kayla? I froze. Felt the air leave my lungs. Because I can't stop thinking about how you sounded under me. I nearly dropped the phone. My hands trembled as I typed back. Me. I'm home. And I haven't stopped thinking about it either. A minute passed. Then another text came in. Beckett. Tell your husband you've been invited to another weekend conference. Just the two of us. You deserve more than a desk and a silent dinner. I'll show you again. I stared at the message, my heart thudding in my chest. My marriage, my life, everything felt like it was swaying on the edge of something irreversible. And the worst part? I didn't want to step back. I wanted to fall. The next morning I stood by the window, coffee in hand, staring out like the suburban neighborhood might offer answers. It didn't. It never did. James was still asleep upstairs, his soft snore drifting faintly down the hall. He'd wrapped himself around me in bed last night, sweet, familiar, safe, and completely forgettable. All I could think about was Beckett. That message. That voice. That body. That wicked invitation. Another weekend. Just us. I didn't even hesitate. I forgot to mention, I said over breakfast, my voice steady, casual. They've scheduled another retreat. Last-minute leadership thing. I'll only be gone a night or two. James looked up from his eggs, surprised but not suspicious. Again. Already? Yeah. Apparently we didn't finish some planning sessions. I smiled. You know how these things go. He nodded, then went back to eating. You're moving up fast. They must really trust you. I swallowed hard. If only he knew how far that trust went. That Friday I checked into the hotel under my name. Beckett had already handled the suite. Of course he had. The man was always 5 steps ahead. The elevator ride to the top floor felt endless. Every floor ding was a heartbeat. Every second ticked with anticipation. When the doors slid open, I stepped into silence. And there he was. Leaning against the doorframe of his room. Shirt slightly unbuttoned. That same intense stare that melted through me the moment it landed. You came, he said, voice low. I shouldn't have. But you did. He stepped aside to let me in. And just like that I walked into the fire willingly. We didn't speak much after that. Because the second the door shut, his hands were on my waist. Then my thighs. Then my face, tilting it up, lips capturing mine with the same hunger I hadn't stopped dreaming about. He backed me into the wall, then the bed. Every kiss was rougher. Every movement more urgent. I let him undress me piece by piece, like I was a gift he couldn't wait to open. And when he finally took me, it wasn't just physical. It was emotional. Addictive. I clawed at his shoulders, my voice muffled against his neck, whispering things I wouldn't even admit to myself later. And he gave it all to me. Every single inch. Until I wasn't Kayla the wife. Or Kayla the employee. I was just his. Hours passed afterwards as we lay in tangled sheets, the city lights glowing against the window. My body was sore. My mind wrecked. But my heart, it beat louder than ever. Beckett turned to me, brushing a strand of hair from my cheek. You're not going back to just playing wife, are you? I swallowed hard. I don't know who I am when I'm with him anymore, I replied. His fingers traced my collarbone. Then maybe it's time you stop pretending. And the scary part? I think he was right. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe for more spicy stories.